Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my precious pack, and welcome back once more to VEGA Conflict. Today's video we're going to talk about the primary reward for the Justice event, and that is the Omega. What does the Omega boast? What does it bring to the battlefield? What can it do for us? Well, let's go ahead and let's take a look at its specials and phasing and things like that. Phasing is fairly typical, standard movement speed, strafe speed as well. Exiting phase, though, this is where things get interesting. Damage over time stacks, it increases it by a 100 stack over the standard damage over time, which is 5. So it literally just ramps it up. What else does it do? Well, it basically becomes a stationary turret, but it gains defenses similar to the Orator, which I'll show for a comparison here in just a second. At Mark 1, it gains a 10% resistance to each damage type with the exception of Alien. The Orator at Mark 6, currently under the workshop that we can see. Okay, I still have stuff earlier. Currently, the stats are for the boosted defense a 10% increase as well, except for it gains increased resistance to everything with the exception of Blight, because that's the damage type they're supposed to weaken to. And I'll talk about this more after when I actually feel like talking about it, because this is on the live server. We can see all of this in the... Well, some of us can. Some people are still having problems for some reason. Some people are showing it. Some people can actually view the fitting of it in-game, and others can't. I'm one of the ones I can't view the fitting. I can't craft it. I can't do anything. I can't really see what's going on with it. But we can talk about the stats. I'll devote another video to it, but for now, this video is devoted to the little baby, the Omega. Standard health value, standard just about everything Pharmakon. Movement speed, 340 forwards, 26 rotation speed, 180 strafe speed, and 300 sector speed. Phase state, we went over that. Exit phase state, we went over that. Damage over time, we went over that. It's just the same as what it typically is, however it gets heavily boosted due to exiting phase. And then the Omega Beam, which we've mostly seen around, stuff like that. It's an interesting weapon. And then it also has the increases to its Vulcan, which is this little guy right here. The Dreadnought Cannon. It's... Think of it like this. It's a Psi missile with longer range. And before anybody says, what am I talking about? It's a Psi missile with better range. Yes. I'm going to be playtesting it, and I'll show off a few of them after I build them, but for now, we have the Omega. Let's go ahead and let's take them out into a fight with some low-level targets. I'll bring you all back in just a second. Would you look who decided to pay a visit? VSEC thought it would be funny to drop in. Well, aren't they in for a surprise, everybody? The only thing they're gonna get is a little bit of a horrible night. I mean, their cannon, their beam weapon's just devastating. Well, not really devastating. I'm picking on low-level targets. It's just, it's stupidly entertaining. That's the best way to look at it. It's a weapon that you cannot hate. Hi, Segfault. I mean, hi, Pop-Up. That, for the most part, is what their beam weapon does. It's a standard deployment weapon in terms of what it does. And their Dreadnought Cannon, well, the Vulcan, it's going to be interesting because their upgrades heavily influence it. It gains increased pierce. It's literally, like I said, it's, by all intents and purposes, according to what I see, it looks like even in combat, the projectile, it looks like what a Psi missile does. Yeah. Now, what else do we want to talk about the ship? Well, let's go ahead and let's take a look at what it's going to be capable of at Mark 6. Increased weight, increased resistance, increased screen. So it gets an additional screen at Mark 2. And it has plenty of other things going for it. Increased AoE. So yeah, it literally, by all intents and purposes, it could be a Psi missile. So let's just leave it like that for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at phase. Phase is standard 200, 200. Extinct phase, nothing changed here. Oh, the resistances grew stronger. And let's see here. Omega Beam, 3 seconds active for 1000 damage this time. Same range as before though. And not much else changes. Sector speeds, though, they all get an increase. Reduced weapon mass, reduced armor mass, and reduced screen mass. So basically the same that we see with the Zeus, of the reduced weapon mass, reduced armor mass, and reduced screen mass, but the Zeus is actually a little bit less. But then this one gains increased pierce, increased AoE, and the blight resistance due to what it is. What do I think of the Omega? Well, first experience is, to me, it looks like a stupidly fun little ship. I'm going to try a few different fittings with them, and I'm currently refitting a Bastion, which I'm actually thinking of canceling real quick and actually fitting a different Bastion, because this one has a test fitting I actually want to talk about in the future. I think I'll actually take one of the US themed ones that I have, and I'll actually start refitting it with the other fitting. It'll take longer, however, it'll have a specific role. Someone asked me if the glance cannon would be good on a Bastion. And you know what? Let's try and find out if it would be. After a couple of days worth of fitting it, it should be just fine. Shielding. I should have a few chase thruster. Yeah, I got one. Let's mix that with celestial optics to tighten the spread up. And let's go ahead and let's throw some armor on it. And then we'll start the refit, and in 2 days, 12 hours roughly, I will talk about this ship once it's ready, and we'll see just whether the glance cannon build like this will be good or decent on a longer range ship, when mixed with celestial optics, just to close the range, well, just to close the spread a bit. Well, let's go ahead and let's start that one. Oh, Seg Vault thing's ready. Nice. Okay. That's going to be it, everybody. The Omega is an interesting little ship that I can't wait to do more with. I can't wait to try out its heavier weapons and things like that. But I want to do a bunch of different builds, just mess around a bit and see what I can do. But if you have any suggestions for fittings you would like to see in action before you actually build them yourselves, feel free to ask, because I'll try and keep them rolling out along with producing new ships. I'll try and produce at least 2 new ships during each monthly event on day 1 or day 2 within that time frame, just to see how they do, fit them a little bit. Stuff like that. Now I really want to try out the weapon. I really want to try it out. Really, really do. Let's see here. It should be the very bottom one. How long is that going to take? 6 hours? Let's make it 12 and let's buy a time token. And I can skip the rest with coins. Because I am curious to actually see how it would behave. Nah, I can wait. I'll take care of it after this video and do something else. Probably lightly fit it to something else and see what it does on other ships, but that's going to be it, everybody. If you have any suggestions, as I was saying before I interrupted myself, going through the little thought of refitting that, if you want to see other things, or if you want to suggest content, things like that, especially if it's VEGA related, feel free to. But as always, everybody, stay safe out in the void, and I will see you in the next video.